Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Soul Quest. Quit laughing. Episode number 55. Wow.
Good. 55 was my pager number back in the days when we used pagers before cell phones. That was
Oh my
my like code to tell
God, it's
people it's
you.
me.
Yeah. Wow, that was over almost approaching 30 years.
I know. Yeah, because it was high school.
Yeah, like
Blue, I had
early
a
90s.
blue fluorescent blue pager.
Yeah, I
It
had a
was
couple.
fun. You had what?
I had a couple different pagers, I remember. Uh, but wow, times have changed. Now I'm on my laptop talking to you,
I know. Yeah.
which is pretty
Yeah, we
cool.
didn't know laptops. I mean, we didn't have laptops then. We just had these big bulky computers and it took forever to get online.
And yeah, it might have been the beginning of the yeah, like the internet, like yeah,
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah, because my senior year, I took a computer programming class.
yeah.
A climb course.
So we are back. It has been a while since Sharon and I have just actually done a podcast together. How long do you think now, Sharon?
I really think the last time we did one, just you and me, was after Costa Rica.
Wow, that was I guess last March.
Yeah,
So we probably did it like in
end of
April.
March, the end of March, I think.
Yeah, end of March. Yeah, we were
Yeah,
still
because
kind
we
of
haven't really done a lot since then.
well. I mean, we've done our own stuff. A
I
lot has
mean,
happened.
we haven't done like a lot of podcast episodes since Costa Rica. Like we've done a few here and there, but we haven't been real consistent
Yeah, I know. We haven't. And
because it's just a lot of energy. I love talking and having conversations, but then being on my computer is draining because I work on my computer all day and then having to do the editing and putting it out there and all that stuff is a little draining for me. So
yeah.
we just do it whenever we feel like it now. Or
Yeah.
whenever I feel like it, I guess.
So actually a lot of has gone down, I guess, if you think about it within a year time. I mean, you recently just purchased a new home and you moved and
Yeah, I've had a lot of change within the last, I mean, just since January, I think.
of
But
this year.
before that, it was just kind of slow and steady. And then boom, new town, new house. Uh,
Exciting.
yeah.
Actually, I just got done visiting Sharon last week, was or 2 weeks ago. I went and stayed over there for a couple days and enjoyed the scenic views, and it's quiet and nice, and you hear animals and birds and
Here, whippoorwills.
yeah, whatever those are.
Whippoorwills are nice. We don't haven't heard coyotes yet, but when we first moved in here, it was like really cool woodpeckers in the backyard, and then a turkey was in my neighbor's backyard, and then um, roadrunners all the time. Snakes, I saw a few snakes, little
Bunch
snakes,
of lizards.
lizards galore until the summer heat came. I guess I don't know where they went.
Yeah, cool
Yeah.
frog.
Oh my gosh, yeah, my little froggy friend. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, he looks really
Great
cool.
tree
He's
frog.
different. Yeah,
And
looks
a
really
gray hawk.
yeah.
Lots of cardinals and hummingbirds. My neighbor behind me has a lot of hummingbird feeders that are everywhere. And yeah, it's really
A lot of deer.
seriously Bastrop. I never knew really what Bastrop had. I just remember driving through it and thinking, oh, I love the trees here and that I could live here. And so I always had it in my mind. And I didn't know how cool it was until I actually moved here. Like I knew it was cool, but I was like, wow, this town is really cool. Like downtown is cool, and the theater that we went to see a play at the theater, and then the fireworks show, and then we live near a golf course and fireworks show there, and then like the neighbors are really cool. I haven't really met some of my neighbors on my street yet. That's another topic. But my neighborhood as a whole is really cool and welcoming, and the homeschool community is really welcoming. And so Millie and I are very happy that we ended up in this house that was kind of synchronistic events that got me in this actually particular house.
Yeah.
111. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you came the other
Oh
weekend
yeah.
and he went on a bike ride one morning, and then that same night I think you went on a long jog up and down the hills, and then the next morning you went another bike ride.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I was doing. I did a. Wait. I did a
you did
couple
two
hundred.
bike rides.
Yeah, 2 bike rides and a couple honeydews.
Yeah, you helped me out with something. Had to remind you. I was like, remember, I have some things I need help with. When you get back from that 20-mile bike ride, can you help me hang some curtains in Millie's room?
Yeah. Ate some really good food. No. What's that place? 602.
Oh, 602 Brewery on Main Street is so good.
Yeah, they have really good food there too. So we'll get a chance. I've had a
Yeah,
couple beers.
the food is really good. I love that. I'm happy that that place is there. There's not a lot of food diversity in this town, but I think it will get there because it's growing immensely. I mean, there's a huge area on north of 71. I don't know. Well, you don't go past that
No,
anymore
I
now.
never go that way anymore. No.
Yeah, it's towards town. It's like it's been cleared. It's like sad and exciting, right? Like huge area. It's going to be a bunch of shopping centers, I think.
Yeah.
Which is it's kind of sad when you wanted to keep the charm of a small town, but at the same time, I remember that happening when I lived in Lakeway. There's a big area of bee cave that was cleared, and they took out this famous music place, the backyard, and everybody was really upset.
Oh.
But they all forgot. I forgot to and started shopping in the shopping center. It's like you're upset, and then you have to deal with the change because change is the only constant.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a big change. Moving, buying a house. Getting
Yeah.
acquainted with your surroundings and like where you live. It's just not like a typical neighborhood. I mean, there's a bunch of trees and forest.
Yeah, that's the pines. I
Dirt
have a
road.
view. I don't have any pines in my yard, which I was trying to get close to the pines, but across the street,
Yes.
there's a huge view of pines, and like down the street, I can see the pine view from distance and like across the street. So I go out there and talk to them. I go in my front yard and I sit and just stare at them and like, oh, I love you.
I I
Never
love I love the terrain. Like the terrain is just so
so
challenging.
different.
It's challenging. Even in your car, you're going like you gotta step on the gas a little bit. It's like
Yeah,
really
it's so different than Austin. It's so different than Houston. It's like a mix kind of. I don't know. It's like red clay and like river rock. There's no limestone really. It's really interesting. It's really
yeah.
cool. I love it. And like the Colorado River is like in the
What?
neighborhood. So
Like a mile down the way or something, at least.
yeah, it's
That's
really
really
cool.
cool too. Like we went out there and it's just flowing and people hanging out. Like I figured that's
Yeah.
gonna be a real busy spot in the future for people.
Yeah, it was
I
busy
think
that
it's
night
gonna
because
be
that was
it's
July
gonna be
3rd.
hard. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was around that time. It's gonna be hard to park
I
around
know
there.
you're right. It's gonna grow a lot, and I'm glad I got in right now so I could enjoy no neighbors
So
right
far.
now so far.
Yeah.
Enjoy this hopefully for a few years.
Yeah. Cool.
But hopefully I meet my neighbors on the street. Hopefully they'll come one day and say hi, and or I say hi to them. But anyway, so what about you? Tell the world what you got, what you've been up to.
Oh man, within the year since we last did something, I mean, I ended up going to Europe for 3 weeks, and
Yeah, and I don't think you posted much about that at all on social media. Did you? Yeah, you did a little,
I
but
did, yeah, I did. Um, it was
it was New
that was
Orleans when you didn't post about. You didn't.
yes. Okay, so Britain. So I actually
It's another thing
went,
that happened in the last year.
yeah,
You got a dog,
yeah,
kind of. You
yeah.
inherited,
That's
kind of.
another thing. I last October my daughter moved out of where she was living. She's like, "Hey, can you watch my dog? For the weekend." And I was like, in October of last year, and now it's about it's mid-July, and I still have her, but she's a really good dog. Her name is Red, and she's been in the family. She's got to be close to 10 years old now, but she's a, what do you call it, a food protector. Like she's always
The
protecting.
healer mix reminds me a lot of my dog Maisie. She's got that cattle dog mentality of get away from my food.
Yeah, but overall, real good dog, chill.
Yeah.
She can. I think she can be aggressive at times, but I think we all can. At
And
certain-
who watched you while you were in Europe? I don't remember.
uh, it was after
Oh, that's right. It was after because you
I
were in
went
Europe.
during the Tour de France in July. Actually, damn, it's been almost a
Oh,
year.
that's right. It was the Tour de France. Okay, so
Next week, yeah, the Tour de France,
yeah,
which is going on right now, and this coming up weekend, this next Sunday is the last stage of the Tour de France, and we flew out of Houston on a Wednesday because we got to Paris like on a Thursday, and we were there for a few days. Yeah, and then I was there for 3 weeks and saw been to two countries I'd never been before, and saw some things I've never seen before, and it was just absolutely breathtaking, amazing. Uh, Climb Alpe d'Huez, one of the Mecca mountains, and cycling, and
amazing.
just did a lot of riding, and it was very challenging. I'll just say that too. I say that whenever I never use the H word, but yes, it was, did that, and man, I feel like time is just really going by fast, before we,
Yeah, you were there in
got,
for 3 weeks, and then you went to New Orleans in April,
oh,
right?
that was, yeah, we rode to New Orleans, Tim and I and two of his childhood friends that he grew up with, since he's known them since they were like 11, 10 or 11, I believe. And it was kind of cool, that ride was really cool. That was this year. I did that ride back in 2001. So it'd been 22 years since I had done that ride. And oh my God, so that was in 2001. Like the scenic view of New Orleans had changed so much in those 22 years. Yeah, like a couple hurricanes went through there. So it really destroyed a lot of property out there, and they just probably tore those houses down and put new ones. But from what I remember, and back then there were no camera phones when I went. I mean, if they did, they took really not so good pictures. So I think all I had was a disposable camera,
Yeah,
I
no.
do have a lot of photos of that from that ride in 2001. It was, of course, Tim and I, and then a couple other bike messengers at that time. And it was just kind of cool to go back 22 years later and do the same ride, even though the course was a little bit different, just maybe 25% of the ride was different from the way we went last time. We just took different turns, but very I don't know. I like to do stuff like that, just get on my bike and just pedal.
I was just, oh, do you want to talk about, I mean, that's amazing, first of all, amazing what you do. And like, I remember the first time you went to Colorado, I was so worried. Like, oh my God, what's he gonna do? He's gonna hit it, like, like just worried about things happening. And then California, I was like, okay, well, he can do hard things. And then when he went to Europe, I was like, oh, he's got this. Like, oh, it's like, okay, I don't have to worry.
And then New Orleans, I
New
mean, that was
Orleans, I didn't.
yeah,
I mean,
that
it's
was a week. We did it
it's
in three and
close.
a half. Yeah, it was close. We did it in 3.5 days, and yeah, I was impressed. The guys that I went with, Tim had to call it a short. He
Yeah, I
only
was gonna say, do you want to talk about that?
he started the ride and only was able to do 30 miles, the first 30 miles, and then he hitched a ride all the way to New Orleans. He was having some complications. He fell off his bike and hitched a ride. So it was mainly just me and then his two childhood friends that rode. So I'd met them before when we rode to Colorado in 2020. That's when I met his two childhood friends because they live in Fort Collins. So I got to really know them, really well, um, which was really cool. Uh, I was seriously impressed, hands down to those guys. They're in their mid to late 60s too. And we had a good pace going, for day 2, 3, and then that half a day on day 4. And man, we were rolling. It was really hot, of course. It got hot on us and rained on us on the last day, but it was just one of Tim's friends. He has a house in New Orleans, so uh, that was kind of like the hub for everything while we were there in New Orleans. Just because he lived like right, we rode for Jazz Fest. We went to Jazz Fest.
Mhm.
Uh, that was the rides, the Jazz Fest ride. But I'd been meaning since 2021. I told Tim I would probably do that ride like 5 times with him, and this is my first time, and since the first time, or since 2001 that I did it, every year, like every time I told him I was gonna go, something would happen, and I would have to like back out, like at the day before or a week before. And Tim, he's done that ride. He even did it by himself, but he's done it at least 15, 16 times already. Like I would say maybe half of that he did it by himself. You
Wow.
know, yeah. So, yeah, and then Tim, ever since we got back, he hasn't been up to par with his health. He got diagnosed with cancer, but I mean, it just kind of hit him a little bit harder this time. I mean, it was speculation for sure, and he got diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is it could be blood cancer, bone cancer, liver cancer, kidney cancer. I mean,
Yeah, my
it's gonna
grandmother
be
had that. Hmm.
yeah. So I mean, I kind of noticed when we were in Europe, I saw a bit of decline in him, during that time. And of course, all those rides that we did, there was always in the back of his head that, he knew he had it, and I mean, just to set the record straight, for those who knew or know that Tim and I did the 2020 ride, 2021 ride, 2022 ride, and then it was all like Tim said, "Hey, I know I have this, and if I'm gonna die, I want to die on the road." So I was always asked to come along to kind of fulfill his wishes. You know what I mean? Like to deal with, to help push him, through all that heat and mountain climbing and all that. Like I was just talking about one of the rides we did this morning with somebody, the California ride, but yeah, I was kind of there. I guess you could say his backbone, to make sure, he finished, to make sure that we finished together, but we finished the ride totally. So, but yeah, he was unable to do this last ride, and he was in not so great shape when he got to New Orleans, and he didn't even really ride. So, and right now, for those who know, he's in the hospital. He's in MD Anderson in the Med Center, and he's there consciously, but his you know, physical body is kind of dwindling. But man, I'll tell you what, he keeps bouncing back, like every week. Like he has good weeks, and then he has bad weeks, and then good weeks, and he's been in and out of the hospital for the past, man, since he got back from New Orleans. When did we go? We got back in May. So since May, June, July, for the past 3 months now, or 2.5 months, he's been in and out of the hospital at least 4 or 5 times and doing like radiation therapy, chemotherapy, all kinds of stuff. I just recently had a uh, stay home with him for 2 weeks, and that was one of the most challenging experiences I've
Yeah.
ever do
Yeah, I was gonna
in
ask
my
you if you
life.
wanted.
So, a caretaker. That's what I was for him.
Yeah, I mean, so I think many people can relate to that draining feeling and that feeling of like, I don't know, like when you're caring for somebody and you don't ever get any relief, like you're the sole caregiver for somebody, what that can do to you mentally.
Oh, dude. I mean, um, yeah,
Um, And just like so people know that don't know Tim, Tim doesn't have any family but an older sister
yeah.
left,
His
and
Tim's,
him and her are not close, so
yeah. So
he depended on
Tim's
you.
Tim is 20 years older than me, so he's 67, and he comes from a family of like 5 or 6, and the only ones that are left is his sister, and she's like 83. And Tim's the baby of the family, so it's the oldest and the youngest. All the others have passed already. So yeah, his sister was. I mean, there was a little They really, I guess you could say, because if you're 20 years older, like if you're the baby and you're born, by the time you're 5 or 6, your sister's gone.
Yeah.
She's already in college or something, or you moved out on her own. So like, and then you don't remember really anything until you're like 5 years old, maybe 4. So he didn't. I guess maybe didn't. I'm just saying, like, there's a big gap there, So, and he doesn't have any kids. So I stepped up to the plate and did the best I could, for the time that I was with him.
You did a lot.
I did. I was there, you know, like 14
You were
days.
sleeping there in the bed with them in his tiny apartment, and
Helping him. He could at that time, like he could not move. Like now he's moving a little bit, but he's really underweight. But back then, or those 2 weeks, like he couldn't even like move up like in the bed to get up on his pillows, or maybe he's totally bedridden, for that time I was there. So like, I was doing everything for him, feeding him 3 times a day, going to get his medication, taking him to the doctor, wheelchairing him, everywhere. And yeah, it was that's man, hey, my hat goes off to anybody who's ever had to, take care. Look, knock on wood, like I haven't had to, my mom and dad are still up to par, and they just barely made their 70s. And
yeah,
but
but
I've
when your mom and dad need you, you have lots of siblings, you know,
oh yeah, I mean, I have my
that will
brother.
be there to help you, it won't just be you. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. And right now, like my sister, my youngest sister, her birthday's coming up, but she lives with my parents, so she kind of watches over them too and does her own thing. But yeah, she's been there, kind of just looking out. But she's the baby. I'm I'm 11 years older than her, so yeah. But yeah, that like I said, I see my grandparents kind of go. One of my grandparents went through that, where and she had a bunch of kids, but like nobody. Yeah, that was weird. I don't even want to go there, but that's it's a different conversation.
Yeah, you know what's coming up in my mind while you're talking is like the human design connection here. Because you have a 3 in your profile and I'm a 6, so I lived as a 3 for the first part of my life. You live as a 3 your whole life. Okay, so a 3 is experimenting in life a lot. You have a lot of stuff that's going to happen that you need to learn from, like things like friends passing, you know, divorce, what are, job things going on, whatever life things. Like you definitely are having experiences, still, like these challenging experiences. As me as a 6, I only had that for a first part of my life. Like all the death that happened in my life that were like friends ended when I was 21. Years kept going in your life, because you are that 3, like you have to still experience this. So it's like when you're talking about taking care of Tim, and I was remembering how you are comparing it to your boss from Journeys, how
Oh
you
yeah, same scenario.
yeah.
Yeah.
And how old were you when he passed?
I was 28 and he was 41, but they were the same person. They're the same person, like exactly this, like same body type,
Interesting.
same attitude, same. They both smoked a lot. They both
Interesting. Such an
didn't
interesting
right.
pattern.
Yes, it's like the same person all over again, but 20 years later.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering like why this lesson is coming up for you again in the same
Oh,
it's kind
this
of
was.
like me with the cats. Like
Oh yeah.
I got a cat given to me. I didn't want another cat. A cat was forced onto me. That was Tiger. He ended up having diabetes. I had to care for him. And then after he died, this cat found me, Christmas kitty, and then we named him Clover. He had a big like thing on his back that I had to figure out what was wrong with him. He would like get blood all over the wall. Like it was a really hard, but I took care of him because he found us and he was so sweet, except for when he fought with my dog. And then a year later he died. He just had all this health stuff. I thought he was fine at the end, but then he ended up dying. And then here comes here comes Tuxedo running up the hill at my parents' ranch on Thanksgiving weekend, and he has FIV and he has allergies and
You have a
so that's
repeating.
my repeating pattern with animals. And I'm a Virgo from I'm in the house of pets and healing. So it's interesting. I'm learning.
So that is. Oh, I mean, we've definitely had some changes within our kind of career kind of stuff. I mean, you're getting into more of what you're doing now, and that is you're.
Oh yeah, I'm taking an astrology course so that I can learn more and incorporate that into my practice with
Yeah.
adults, you know. Um, and then uh, doing a retreat in Mexico all by myself. We talked about doing it together,
Yeah,
but this one is just going to be me, ladies only, in the mountains of Mexico. So
come on, sell it.
it's a mystical town, Teplazon. Hope I'm saying it right. Um, it's funny because I really don't remember. I remember this, the town sounded familiar to me, but like the people that I was working with that were finding a retreat site for me, a tour hero, and Adventures travel company, when they brought it to me, I thought, oh, that town sounds familiar. I knew I wanted to be around Mexico City. And then I brought it up to somebody at the mother-daughter retreat that I was helping out with recently, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I wanted to go to that town so bad when I was there with my husband, but he was like, why are we gonna go there? We could because it's supposed to be this like really high vibe town in Mexico." And then I was telling it to Heather, and she reminded me, my friend Heather, when she was here visiting, she reminded me that that town is a town that Don Miguel Luis, um, he wrote the Four Agreements
Oh,
and
is it?
the Love Book. Forgot
Yeah.
that. Two books that I highly recommend and I live by. He wrote those books and he does retreats there. And supposedly that's where he met his wife, his
Oh,
current wife. So I was like, oh my gosh, I knew there was something special about this town. You know, it's an Aztec, there's an Aztec temple there. We're going to take a hike, morning hike there. And then we're going to do a sweat lodge ceremony and a cooking class. And there's like, this is the way I like to do retreats, as you know. I like it to be a luxury and also some adventure in there. Like, I like it to be like, I like it just a sigh. Let's relax by the pool if we want, you know, like get some time alone. Let's read a book. Then let's go do something, some work, inner work. Let's do sweat lodge ceremony or hike up to that temple, you know, like doing inner work, and also doing physical stuff. Like I don't like doing the same thing every day. You know, I'm a manifester. Yoga retreats aren't my thing, you know, like I don't want to do yoga every day. I want to mix it up. And so I'm not a yoga teacher anyway, but I was going to hire a yoga teacher to come in and do one day of yoga. But I'm going to do like heart math and like different meditations that I love, like combination. I call it like meditation combo with qigong and tapping and heart math. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a retreat for me too, which is so cool. Like I can't wait to gather the ladies that are meant to be there, to make connection with them, and to like have that instant community feel that retreats have, and hopefully inspire some women to keep working on themselves and inspire myself by learning
right.
about it.
You always have to learn about yourself. That's always,
Yeah.
he said, you keep on, you're a three and you keep on learning, you keep on having to learn these challenges. And
Yeah. And I mean, doesn't mean that I'm not, and everybody else that's not a three or, you know, isn't learning. It's just, you're going to have a lot of experiment. I mean, the great experimenter is what the three is. So, I mean, and it's a good thing, you know, I'm not going to say good or bad. It's just some intense things and some, you know, really amazing things. And just it's your perception and your mindset that decide if it's like a, you know, really traumatic or not, things that happen.
yeah,
So some people don't know what I'm talking about, but human design is really, really cool. It's based on astrology and chakras and the I Ching. It's like you look up your chart, myhumandesign.com, find out what you are, read about yourself, learn about yourself. You will be amazed.
yeah. It's funny because everything you've told me about myself, like it's almost on point. Like it is. Like every,
Yeah. And with astrology, pure astrology, is the same way as I'm learning. That's why I wanted to take astrology so I could combine it with human design, because it's every astrology reading I've had and human design reading I've had, they tell me the same thing. I'm like, oh, okay, but where do they parallel? Where can I look at each part and see where that matches? But you are definitely a generator, as this week has totally proven, because you are outside all day welding and painting, and then, oh, I think I'll go for a jog tonight. I was just telling a friend that the mutual friend that we met in the Costa Rica retreat that I saw today, she is a generator too. And I was telling her how you are a generator to the T. And then most of the time, you're always doing things that you really love. Okay, so when you're doing things you really love, you could go all day, all night, you know, and that's what I'm seeing in you. And you're welding and like design, you know, like redoing these trailers and things that you love. You could just, you know, I'm gonna go for a jog, I'm gonna go for a bike ride. Like you could just keep going, you know, like the Energizer Bunny. And then this, you know, friend that I was with today, she was like, and with me, you know, my work is not something I love. And so it ends up draining her, even though she's a generator. She can't have that energy to go, 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 because she isn't her heart isn't into what she's doing. And so that's the thing about generators is, which is 30% of the world. If you're doing something you don't love, it drains you. I mean, with anybody, right? But as a manifester, I can do things I love and I still need breaks. Like I love talking to kids. I love talking, helping adults, but I can't do sessions all day. I would not be able to do my job well because I would be drained and tired. So I have to take breaks no matter what, if I love it or not. You go, go, go.
No, don't get me wrong. Like I said today, I said, I ain't doing nothing on Sunday. I mean, I woke up, I went to go see I wanted to sleep in, but I went to go see the stage of the Tour de France, which is a very intense stage today. And then came home and I was gonna start doing a bunch of stuff. I was like, wait, what am I doing, dude? Like I told myself I wasn't gonna do anything today.
Well, it
So
took you a week to get to that point of working out in the sun all day. Like
it's been
it blows my mind.
it's been scorching here in Houston, Texas. Actually, all over the
all
world.
over, all over Texas.
All over Texas, but like they said, the United States has had its record-breaking temperatures in like the history of the United States. So yeah, it's been really hot. Like I said, where I live, I had to go buy a fan yesterday just to keep
Mm-hmm.
air circulating in the house. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, last summer we had a heat wave too, but it didn't last this long. And the summer before, it was really nice because we had that cold
oh yeah,
freeze.
2021.
Yeah, after that cold freeze, that summer was pretty mild.
Man, I'll tell you what, that in 2020 it was kind of hot because when we rode across Texas,
Oh yeah, well
I got
that's
I got
different. You
burnt.
were riding in the hottest part of Texas though.
That true, but it was still hot.
I just
Like
don't
there,
remember 100 over 100 degrees for this many days. Usually it happens like into July and August. But you know what? Um, things are changing in the world, and we could sit here and argue about, how they're changing, but the truth is, or why they're changing, but the truth is, nobody knows the answer, even though people are walking around thinking they know the answer.
that's true. And I always bring this up. Like I remember when we were in high school, back in the Eisenhower days. I remember seeing one of the geography teachers or something, social studies, was actually saying like by the year 2015, California will be in the water.
Yeah, I
Like
remember learning that
books.
too.
It was in the books. Like they said,
Seriously, like there's so much that we were told 20 years ago that would happen that never happened. And there's a cover of the Time. I mean, I don't want to start getting controversial here, but there's a cover of the Time magazine from like 1979. Yeah, 1979. Because my friend showed it to me, and that's the year she was born. On the cover, it says the Great Cooling. Instead of the Great Warming that we're having right now, it's the Great Cooling we were afraid of back then. So seriously, it's just so
yeah,
crazy
they're
how
all their predictions
it's
and
just so everything that we hear is so manipulating, and it's like nobody knows what's happening. Nobody knows the truth because science is biased, and that's all I'm gonna say. Because
I mean there is some truth to it, I guess.
there
But
is some truth, but I mean, whatever you believe, you're gonna find proof of. And
yeah,
we talked about this before with the whole
yeah, we have.
vaccination thing.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
just stop there. Um, so you're still doing training
Well,
and
barely like
but
I
you're
got
also doing, you know,
I in the beginning
welding
of
and
the year I shut the studio down,
yeah.
and so I'm not. I mean, my training career tenure. This is my 15th year of training, but I've just gone from I was doing like 30 hours a week of training, and then now it's just like I maybe do like 6 or 7 a week. But I'm doing other things. I took up welding and just been mainly just like fixing a lot of things, metal stuff that's broken, and it's good because I get to see how it's made and then remake it, you know. But I've made a lot of things too, you know. I enjoy making things. Like
You do.
I love to make something and be like, "Wow, did I just make that?"
I
Like
know you learn so fast. And like I said, like it's hard. It's the when I find myself having negative self-talk about, oh, I can't do this. I tell my students this all the time. It's usually when it comes to things that I know you will help me with. I'm like tried to do the curtain thing by myself. I really was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then it just, it's like, you know what? Cisco can do this in 5 minutes. And here I am trying so hard. You're just so good with like, and you know how to, I mean, you built my tortoise corral in like an hour.
I was sweating like a
But
dog.
that wasn't even a hot day.
Yeah, it
It
wasn't.
wasn't
And
that hot.
I was in the shade too. Like the sun was over the house. So, but I have friends like that too. Like I just remember like in the early 2000s, like a lot of friends that were good with Photoshop, but they were artists. Like they knew, they were painters and
Oh yeah.
So like I would always, I talk to them, say, "Hey man, can you whip up something for me?" I was like, I know you're so good at it. Like it would take me
Yeah.
like hours to do what
Yeah. And I
you
mean,
can do in 5 minutes. So I get
right,
what
we can't be good at everything, like we need to all bring our unique abilities and things that are easy for us to the world and help each other. And so
but you know
it's
what? And this is like I saw a post online. It was something about like somebody, and this is like the example of my friends who are Photoshop gurus, like and artists their whole lives. So they had the eye, what I'm saying, to make things in, you know, and the post was about, yeah, I it was about valuing your worth, right? So like it was something like, yeah, you did this in like 10 minutes, you owe me X amount of dollars,
mm,
but you only did it in 10 minutes. But yeah, I've been spending my whole life doing this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like I just learned it last week and I can do it in 10 minutes. I've been an artist my whole life, or, a construction worker, or a problem solver, or an attorney, or
right.
something
It
like
was all the experience made it
that.
happen and you be able to do it in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, pay up, basically, like,
Yeah. I mean, everybody is worthy of their money energy exchange, financial energy exchange. So, well, we're gonna wrap it up because I gotta
yeah.
go and water my yard before it gets dark and take care of my tortoises. More
Well,
babies
this is
coming soon. If
what?
anybody wants any tortoise babies, I have some
Oh, that's right.
hatchlings coming, I think, in the end of August and then maybe the end of September.
Yeah, and you're doing it like there's some in the ground in your backyard,
Yeah, I left
and
some on the ground this time and I just took two out of each batch. So I have four in the incubator. So I'm gonna see if they come out of the ground. I'll be watching every day. And I
hope you
might
have your
I might
calendar.
undig a little bit because it's really hard to dig out of the dirt right now because it's so dry. I don't know. We'll see. I got to
Yeah,
keep the ground wet. Anyway,
another yeah. Uh,
so we're gonna see you again when we have somebody that I have in mind that we're gonna interview next, and then we have still some other people that we need to get back to that wanted to be interviewed.
true.
And we'll get to them when we can, when we feel like getting on here. We'll see you then.
Yeah, we'll get it though.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
So, well,
Bye,
thank you all.
everyone.
Thanks. We'll see you guys later, and have a
Thank
good day.
you. Thank you for
Bye.
watching.